So this is for you. Small businesses are currently struggling under soaring rental fees, hydro rates, and increased staffing costs without the deep pockets of large corporations. What specifically would you and your party plan to do to support small business, meaning those under 20 staff members?
First of all, small businesses have been heavily hit with this latest minimum wage increase. And I realize that in some situations, yes, you need to have this. However, just a blanket minimum wage across the province does not work. And the reason why it doesn't work is because the costs are different. In Toronto, you're going to need a lot more money to be able to live than in Thunder Bay or another place. So what I think it should be fair is let adults negotiate whatever they need to negotiate in terms of wages, and let municipalities take care of their, according to the local conditions, take care of the minimum wage. And in terms of electricity, we are going to provide a framework that will allow competition. We know competition will drop prices, and usually you get a much better service if you have competition. Look at your phone bill. Your phone bill is constantly decreasing in the last time, as opposed to your electricity bill, where it's a monopoly, and it keeps going up.
Thank you. David.
Thank you. As an entrepreneur myself, way back when, I understand the challenges that are faced by business owners, particularly when you're the one taking the risk, you're the one that's got your wife or husband who's co-signing the loan at the bank, and you've got that mortgage on your house as collateral to generate 30% of your inventory in a credit line. I think the first thing I do is start removing some of the 390,000 restrictions and regulations that face business. And there's so many. As a matter of fact, there's about 4 on how to stand up on a ladder. As far as electricity is concerned, the government certainly wouldn't want me, because I would take 5 lawyers down to the legislature, I'd put them in one room, conference room, I'd hand them copies of that Green Energy Act, that hydro contract, and I'd lock the door. I'd send in pizza and Chinese food until they came up with 4 different ways out, and I do the same thing with 4 law students or 5 law students in another room. Thank you.
You're up, Dave.
We have to recognize that small businesses are the main job creators in this country. That is where the essential workforce comes from, and we have to support that in any kind of rational financial and job creation plan. The assistance that we're talking about giving for small business right now, number 1, cutting the hydro rates, I already said, by 30%. Also within that, eliminating the time of day charge surplus. It's going to go on that. You're penalizing small business for charging them a higher rate for when they have to be open to do their business. Secondly, we're going to maintain the 1/3 reduction to small business corporate tax rate to assist in small businesses on the overall tax. What I ask you to do, we've got printed off a special part of our program on support for small business at the back. Grab one of those flyers, please, if you particularly want more on what we're going to do with small business.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is an issue that's near and dear to me. My sister and her husband have a small business. My partner has a small business, and I see how it affects them. It's something that we definitely need to be doing more on. So far, we have, the Liberal government has decreased small business taxes by 22% to help offset the increase in minimum wage. The increase in minimum wage is what people deserve. They deserve a living wage, but we need to help our small businesses at the same time. So we are doing that. We also have the rent control that's in place that Doug Ford's talking about scrapping. This is going to greatly affect our small businesses that rent their premises. We also have in place all the social safety net of free prescriptions for children and daycare and lots of programs like that that help people to make ends meet. And whether you're a small business or you're struggling to get by, these programs will continue to help you, and Doug's Ford wants to cut them. I think that when we talked about regulations, I think we just have to look back to Harris to remember what happens when you start cutting regulations. Thank you.
Well, small business owners are the lifeblood of our economy, and they could be small farms, small business owners working from their homes, small manufacturers. But regardless of what kind of industry they're in, they're all facing huge challenges that are coming from our provincial government. The biggest challenge that we've got to focus on is reducing hydro rates. Skyrocketing hydro rates are making it harder for small businesses to be profitable, to pay their employees, to make ends meet. Red tape, there are over, as David said, over 380,000 regulations that small businesses have to comply with. Big businesses have huge departments that are dedicated to handling this, but for small businesses, this is crushing. And in the farming industry, they have to deal with 29 different provincial ministries and 15 different federal ministries. I mean, they spend more time in chairs than on the field, which is where they want to be. So the real thing that we need to do for small businesses, which this Liberal government has not done, is we need a change in philosophy. We need to let small businesses know that we want them to succeed and that we are here for them to help them do that.
Section of rebuttal, David.
You know, all these people stand up here and they talk about reducing hydro rates. But folks, give your head a shake. We're not reducing hydro rates, we're deferring them. That's what we're doing. We're pushing them on to our grandchildren and their grandchildren and their grandchildren. That's all we're doing. Because if we've got a 25 or a 20-year contract where we're paying 79 or 80 cents a kilowatt hour, okay, and we're selling this stuff for 6 cents, then figure it out. There's nobody in this room who'd want to go in business with anyone else, and we buy chairs that you're sitting on for 80 bucks and sell them for 6. I mean, we wouldn't last too long, would we? So until you get rid of the contract that you've got where you're buying this electricity for the next 20 years, you're not saving a dime, you're just pushing it on to the next generations. And that's what makes me sick.
And I just want to be really clear, what David's referring to there is would be the Liberal plan of deferring the operating expenses, the consumption of electricity down the road for future generations, adding $40 billion, the Auditor General was saying, to the overall hydro bill, we're passing on to next generations. What the New Democratic Party is saying is that we put a stop to the high prices and gouging of hydro by buying back Hydro One, so that we're not paying money into the profits of private corporation, and utilizing that money in order to help further reduce the cost of hydro. That's what we need to do, regain control over Hydro One, and in the long term then we've maintained control over that corporation and are able to maintain reasonable costs for it. The other thing we want to help with small business is by having a universal health care plan in place that covers all aspects of health, including pharmacare and dental care. That's a great help for small business.
I have just one question. How are you going to buy back Hydro One? The government has less than 50% in its share. Are you going to pay market price for the current shares? Does that mean that we sold it cheap and now we buy it back expensive?
It's worth less now than it was.
So I think, again, this is an area where a little bit of knowledge of the file goes a long ways. When we are selling it cheap, it's because it's being generated by something like nuclear that can't be shut down overnight. That hydro is being generated, and if it's not being used, better to get 6 cents than nothing. Right? So that's where that's coming from. And people like to twist that out of control. I think the other thing that's important is the buying back of hydro will lower bills. Hydro is the prices are regulated by an independent regulator. The buying of hydro will do nothing to your bill. Doug Ford firing the CEO will do nothing for your hydro bill. These are slogans that they want to throw out there, but the reality is to understand how hydro works. The rates are set by an independent regulator, and the firing of the CEO does nothing. The buying back of the shares does nothing. The investments that we made because of the selling of a portion of Hydro One have built the infrastructure that we need. We hear from people that we need infrastructure, and we need money to do that. Thank you.
You get the final shot.
Well, I think it's pretty clear that what will not help our hydro bills is another 4 years of Liberal government. But what we need, as I said earlier, what we need to focus on is how we are going to help small businesses. We are going to reduce their hydro rates, and we're going to do it by working with, as we said, scrapping the Green Energy Act and trying to undo some of these long-term contracts. But the biggest thing is we are going to work with small businesses and let them know that we are there for them. Bill 148 brought in some important legislation that's helpful to a lot of people. But in 2014, the Liberals had the opportunity to raise the minimum wage, and they chose to index it to inflation. And so when they did bring it in eventually, it took so many small businesses by surprise that it hurt the people that it wanted to help in the first place. And that's what I mean. We need to partner with small businesses, let them know what we want to do as a government to help all of us in society, other people in society, but work with them because they can only pass on their costs so much. And so a conservative PC government will do that and help small businesses.
Thank you all. I'm sorry that I have to do that all the time. You guys get on a good roll, and I just have to enforce the time.